I am in Switzerland in Lake Geneva again. I came out here to do my run, just finished my run. It's beautiful scenery out here, you can check it out. Really quite an amazing place. I never imagined that it could be a lake this beautiful. It's really astounding. Really, it was a good run. So anyway, I thought I'd do a quick video here on a topic that I've been thinking about a lot, which is I just forgot it. That's funny. I'm gonna actually have to look at my Trello board because the beauty of the lake just made me forget. This is real here. This is real. This is what happens. That's what happens sometimes, is when you're stunned by the beauty of the lake, is you forget things. Anyway, I pulled up my Trello board and I did go and figure out what the video was. And I've been thinking about this topic. It's been sitting on my board for a while to do a video on. And I thought, okay, well, now's about the time, since I just did a video and it's on freedom. I think you could check out this one delayed. I do a lot of freedom videos, but I like that topic. Have you noticed? That's my highest motivation in life, and my highest value is freedom. So anyway, in that, I had someone come in with the default victim mentality approach, saying, oh, that's great for you, and that's great for people who are white males and living in the US, and but other people are oppressed, and that's not true, and they don't have the same levels of freedom. And while I agree there's different levels of freedom, of course, I'm not gonna indulge the whole victim mentality mindset or the whole victim card. But I was thinking about an analogy that I think works pretty well for describing this, and for basically giving you a context to think about how that victim mentality, how things are somewhat equal, even though they don't appear to be, right? So bear with me here. I know I'm giving a little bit of a pre-explanation here because I want you to get what I'm saying here. So here's the thing, right? So I was thinking about it this way. It's sort of like you can imagine life like an obstacle course, right? And so what I mean by that is that you could have, let's say that you had a choice in life. Let's say that you had a choice between one obstacle course that was really easy, okay? And you could just breeze through it. It didn't have very many obstacles, right? So you could get a good time on that thing. Or one obstacle course that had a lot of obstacles in it, right? And you got to, your end goal was to compete in some kind of event, and that was your training. So let's say that even let's say that we didn't say it's an obstacle course. So let's just say it was some kind of path, right? Some running path, let's say for training, and one of them was hard and one of them was easy, right? Which one would you pick for training if your end goal is to compete in some kind of a race or some kind of a competition, right? And now there's some benefits to either, right? So if you pick the easy path, it's easy. So it's easier for you to train. You can probably get a better time. You can probably train more often. You can probably, get faster, easier, but you're not going to be prepared for the difficulty and the hardship of the race, of the event at the end, right? It's not you're gonna have to train more. Let me put it that way, right? So if you do the easy path, you're gonna have to do it more often in order to get the same net training effect. Does that make sense? As I'm thinking this out, it's making more sense. So kind of scratch some of the old stuff I said and go with this analogy, because it's a little bit more clear. So you have two paths, one easy, one hard. If you choose the easy path, or if you're dealt the easy path, but let's say that you have a choice. If you choose the easy path, you're gonna have to run it more. It's just a flat path, okay? You have to train it more to get the same net training effect, okay? If you choose the hard path, you have to do it less, because it's a harder path. There's more hills. You're training harder, therefore you're going to get that effect faster, right? Now, forget about what you know about about long distance running training or whatever, and just bear with me on this analogy here. Essentially what I'm saying, and you could apply this to multiple things, not whatever it is, whatever thing that you're practicing or you're training for, you can either choose the easy way and do it a lot, or the hard way and do it less and get more of a benefit, right? And you really, what you really got to think about is which thing gets you more of a benefit, right? One of them is more painful, okay, and it seems harder, but in the end, the benefit is more. And so if you had to make that choice, if you could make that choice, which choice would you choose? Now, some people would choose the easy path, and that's fine, but they're gonna have to do more of it, right? And so that's kind of like how it is with life, if you think about it this way, right? And this is sort of the great equalizer, is that if things are easier for you in life, you're gonna have to do a lot more in order to build character and grit that's gonna make you tough enough to face the really hard challenges, right? If you have things easy, okay, yes, you might have some advantages in life, but in a way, if your end goal is something of greatness, some aspiration of greatness, not just mediocrity, but some greatness, you're going to face difficult challenges, right? That's guaranteed. And so if that's what your end goal is, then you are going to you're going to have a harder time, okay? Whereas if you take the harder path, if it's more difficult for you, and you have to work for it, right? You're going to learn grit. You're going to learn discipline. You're going to learn a lot of the things that are going to prepare you and build the character, even though it's going to be initially more painful and initially more difficult, right? So that's how I kind of view things, and that's why I say that, that things are not as unequal as they appear. And I did this video on white male privilege, you could check out here. I think that's the one where I was basically saying that, like, look, you don't know what's an advantage and what's a disadvantage, right? I mean, some of the best things in my life turn out to be the worst. Some of the worst things turn out to be the best, right? Some of the things that you would think is the biggest disadvantage for someone, it turned out to be their greatest asset, their greatest strength. They would never have given up having that disadvantage, because that allowed them to achieve what they did, because that built the grit and the determination. And I know that's true for me. I know that the things that I've had to work for, things that didn't come easily, the things that were, you could call a disadvantage, that I didn't have handed to me, those were the things that ended up being the most valuable. And so it works the other way too, right? Like I said, is that if some of the things that I've had that came so easy, that got taken for granted, they ended up not being helpful. They ended up being hindrances, and that often happens. If you don't believe that's true, I'll give you a challenge here, which is to go to a buffet and see if it's easier to keep your diet, right? Here's how it's easier to keep your diet, is if you don't have, if your pantry is out of food, there's nothing in the refrigerator, real easy to keep a pretty strict diet. But if you go to a buffet, it's really difficult. And so you see what I'm saying here, is that sometimes having the availability of things makes it, increases your temptation and your weakness, and helps you to become soft, right? It doesn't help you to develop grit and character. All right, that's all I got to say about that. That's an interesting analogy that I've been thinking about here. I should probably turn around. I gotta get going. I actually speaking of which, I gotta go eat. But just something I've been thinking about. I'll probably refine this a little bit more. I'm trying to think of the perfect analogy for this, but essentially, I think you guys get what I'm saying, is that, if you take the hard path, if you're given the hard path, if you're dealt the hard path, you're going to have a certain set of advantages and disadvantages, but you're going to be developing character and grit more easily, because you're forced to. You don't have a choice. Now, maybe you want the choice, that's fine. But if you've got the easy path, so to speak, you're going to have to do a lot more effort to get there. And what really got me thinking about this was the next generation of my child, thinking about how can I things are going to be so easy for her, right? She's going to have it so easy. She's going to have the kind of money and things, and she's not gonna have to work for. I remember as a kid, just trying to save up enough money for the next video game, and at least that made me work for something. But she doesn't have that, right? And so I was thinking about how that is going to affect her, and how can I put challenges and obstacles in her life that will actually help her to grow character. And it's actually a challenge. It's actually a bad thing, when you think about that she's going to have that kind of a disadvantage. So it's funny, right? I mean, really think about this. Think about if you're in this situation and you've got you're well-to-do, and how are you going to teach your children to kind of. I mean, the thing that made me successful, I think, like, was learning how to, how to do without, and how to, like, find my own way, right? And how to figure things out for myself, right? I didn't have any mentors for entrepreneurship or real estate or software development. I had to learn all this stuff for myself. I had to figure it out. And so that, not having that that disadvantage, so to speak, would have stunted me. So anyway, just some things to think about here as I'm walking this lovely day. It's really hard to focus with so many distractions. All right, I'll talk to you next time. If you haven't clicked the subscribe button already, make sure that you do. Click it below and click the bell so you don't miss any videos as I'm traveling Europe. I promise I'll have my head back in gear once I'm not walking around these beautiful sceneries distracting my mind. Talk to you next time. Take care.